And so it was said that if the pillars of the world shall fall, darkness will descend upon all that lives. From the Book of the Dark. Man did not heed this warning. The sacred cosmic tree burned to cinder. And so the darkness came, claiming all that was bright and living in Thea, when all hope was lost. After a century without light, the sun rose once more. Thea awakened from her dark slumber, and you along with her. But Thea is not the world that once was. The age of darkness weakens, but it is far from over. Life took its shy roots, yet death will not release its grip easily. While the sun keeps some of the evil in check during the fleeting days, at night, the creatures of darkness roam free and angry, unwilling to give up their dominion over the land. It is up to you to find a way to rebuild Thea, banish the darkness, and strengthen mankind.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crimson Vegas, and as you have seen from the intro just now, this is indeed Thea the Awakening, which we're going to be playing right now. This one also features the latest add-on. I think it is the latest, Return of the Giants, which, as you can see here, there's some creepy stuff going on there. What is that? So yeah, basically it kind of reminds me of Attack on Titan, which admittedly I haven't watched, but you know, this is the closest thing to that, and I really like these sort of Titan themes going on here. Overall, this is a game that I've been wanting to play for a very long time, and partly because of I've been moving around a lot, because I've having some problems recording and editing software. I finally managed to buy all the stuff that I need, and this yeah, finally I can actually play this game. I am very happy to play it. Now, admittedly, the Return of the Giants expansion will probably give me some trouble, because I haven't actually tried this before, and I am, to be honest, not very good at this game to begin with. So I'm probably going to be playing on some very basic settings and very basic difficulties. I'm not going to go too difficult, not too high. I have actually managed to beat this game at one time on the normal difficulty, and I didn't get too many points for that. So I'm going to explain a lot of things here in the introduction. This is going to be the first episode. It's going to be an introduction to explain what this game is. Basically, it is a real-time strategy survival type of game. You do have a city where you can build stuff, and you can gather followers and increase your population, but you cannot build new cities as far as I can tell. Everything revolves around a single city, and there's a very massive universe that is procedurally generated. It's actually just one planet, but it's so huge that it's really impossible to cross it from one end to another. It's just an infinitely stretching wasteland, basically, and with lots of random events and randomly spawning monsters and such. It's very challenging, and but there is an ending to it. There is a way for you to end it. There are multiple ending scenarios, and there is an actual story that goes along with your people, with the people that you are sort of trying to defend and ascend with. You know, try to restore balance to the world that is Thea. And I know this introduction is a bit too long, but there's something interesting about the name Thea. Thea actually is the name of a hypothetical planet which collided with Earth before Earth became sort of a habitable planet. A very long time ago, before Earth had a moon even. Apparently there was a collision with a planet which they called Thea, and that collision is presumably is what caused modern Earth to be what it is, and I mean today's planet to become what it is, and it also created the moon that we have. So that's kind of the backstory behind the name Thea itself. But this Thea is different. This is sort of a fantasy situation. I don't think it has anything to do with that collision or whatever. So yeah, let's check out the options here. I hope that the I'm gonna keep this like that. Actually, I'm gonna lower the music because I have a feeling the music may be a little bit too loud. Hopefully not. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it like that. The options are very simple stuff here. You can't really change whether your game is gonna be run in windowed mode or not. You're gonna have to do it from the game launcher itself. So that's kind of a bit of an annoyance, but that's fine. Focus on any movement. This could be helpful if we. It's actually better because there's not a lot of space for you to you sort of look at, most of your vision is going to be centered around your cities and your expeditions. So I think this will be fine. Expedition animation, I actually want to raise that a little bit. That's it. That's going to be it. So we're going to start a new game here. Yes, we're going to start from scratch. Okay, so this was the one that this is a test run that I was running previously, and you're going to notice that my progress has not been very far. I haven't actually progressed too far. I was intending to play this game somewhat blind, with minimal prior experience. I have played a couple games actually. My first game was with Svarog, and I unlocked a few things here and there, but then I decided to go with Morena because I unlocked Morena actually. I actually won the game with this guy once, but then I tried to, with the slightly higher difficulties with this one. I'm going to continue with normal because difficult is actually very difficult. In fact, normal itself is very challenging, so I'm going to go with that. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Morena. The reason why I like her is because she actually gives you bonus to research. And it turns out in this game you don't really want to get a lot of experience in the early game. You actually want a lot of research because every time you gain experience, it is applied to all of your population. So yeah, and so eventually you're going to have more and more people joining you. So ideally you want to gain a lot of experience later, not earlier. So this it's kind of counterintuitive in my opinion. So I prefer this one because the research is the one that you really need early on, and the experience stuff you can gain eventually. And furthermore, her bonuses are really cool. Here you get folklore and animal kinship, medic and tactics. These are very sort of survival and diplomacy oriented stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you would... She's probably going to have a lot of hunters in her game, basically. The other guys here I'm not particularly interested with. Come to think of it, actually, your people gather and research fast. That is actually not bad. Oh, we'll say. I might eventually play with Lada here. Yeah, so definitely my least favorite are the ones that give you experience. Even though, oh my god, I have actually unlocked a lot of stuff with this guy. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to start with Morena here. Nothing unlocked yet. We only have these two options. The more you play, the more experience you gain with this particular god, and you will have more stuff unlocked with that. And right now, yeah, we have a lot of gods here in the dark. I'm kind of curious to see what they bring, but yeah, this is going to be our start here. We're going to start with some craftsmen. I really like craftsmen because they allow you to, well, they give you, they usually have some of the more unusual skills, like for example, animal kinship, diplomacy, magic stuff. That stuff usually comes from the craftsmen, so I actually prefer to have a lot of craftsmen early on, as opposed to just warriors. And besides, warriors and gatherers they're gonna join you very quickly. And in the early game, you don't require too many gatherers, like maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 is pushing it. And there are certain items you can craft which can provide a bonus to gathering and crafting, so it doesn't matter either way. But yeah, having very high level craftsmen is incredibly useful. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump in.
Thea is awakened. Welcome. No time to waste. You are a deity of the High Pantheon, and you must help your worshippers survive the darkness. So what now, you ask? You are divine, yes, but you have little power, and so you will know the world through your people's eyes. This means sometimes you will encounter your own divine messengers, and maybe even face your own avatars. Weird, I know. Your first mission is to survive. Every critter is trying to make sure you stay down. So get food and craft better equipment to protect yourselves. You will guide your people to victory, either by sheer survival and progress, or by solving the cosmic tree's mystery.
So interestingly, I actually managed to beat the game by following the quest of the cosmic tree, which, and I even took sort of a combat pathway. And it was a lot of fun, I guess, but it kind of ends the game prematurely. If you decide to go with the survival and progress, actually, come to think of it, I am not even aware of what victory conditions are available to you in this game. The victory condition that I satisfied was the cosmic tree thing. I'm not sure about the survival or progress one. Maybe it has to do with like researching a lot of stuff, perhaps. I don't know, but that sounds like the sort of long term. Sort of victory condition. So yeah, this guy is kind of a tutorial. I'm actually gonna play through the tutorial because it does give you a few items through it. and it will sort of introduce us as if in this playthrough to the sort of basic concepts. And it's a good way for me to refresh my memory. What's this? Who's talking to me? And what did you mean? Looking through people's eyes.
I am but a messenger. Theodore, you can call me. But let us focus on you. Here is a broken land. The underworld is shut, and the undead roam the earth. And creatures of darkness that ruled for a century want you dead.
Okay, so I need to improve our village and people, so how do I get started? Now, when you read the text here, you're gonna get the feeling that there's a lot of humor, sort of modern quips going on, very modern language. Probably because this is some kind of translation, or actually, come to think of it, maybe I kind of wondered, this game was originally in another language, or is it English primary release? You know, the release was originally in English. I'm not so sure, but I get the feeling that the language overall is meant to be humorous and down to earth. It's not very high flying. Yeah, so there's a lot of comedy here and there. Anyway.
First, go and explore your village. Check the inventory to see your stocks and set people to gather food and fuel, like wood. Without food, people will starve. And without fuel, they will not craft or even heal, so these are really important.
Now, when you see these sort of large letters, see the capital letters, these are sort of basic gaming concepts. And yes, there's crafting, there's healing, these are all skills that you need in order to survive. So gather food and fuel of the village. Anything else?
Yes. Once you've visited your village, check out the people standing outside, the exploring party. Select your party and send them to me. I will wait for your people outside the village. I have marked your people's map with a big blue question mark, so they will see where I am. Oh, and if you ever forget what your current task is, just check out your logbook.
So we're not going to be listening to him too much from now on. I'm going to try and sort of skip through some of his dialogue. Alright, so check out my village and people first, then send them your way. Let's begin. Enter the minds and bodies of your worshippers and begin the adventure. So basically we are role-playing as the goddess herself, Morena, and we are entering the minds and bodies. I don't know how that works, but yeah, she's basically kind of indirectly controlling them through fate or whatever. Okay, so we gained 1 experience. Now, throughout these dialogues here, you will see we will gain incremental amounts of experience and research here. So yeah, let me. There's a lot of stuff that this game doesn't really explain directly, so I'm gonna try and go through it as we play. So yeah, we have the research progress here. So actually, there's a lot of tooltips, so that makes things a little bit easier. So yeah, this stuff you will gain every time you construct a building or craft an item of some kind. You will gain it through some through certain events, perhaps, and this is the experience which is gained from pretty much everything. Everything you do gives you an incremental amount of experience. So ideally, in the early game, you actually want as much research as possible, in my opinion at least, because this is the one that will because, you know, the experience, I feel like if you gain too many levels, it is kind of wasted on a small number of villagers. Ideally, you want to make sure you have a large number of villagers before you, like, really rush through the experience gain. But as it stands, I guess it works for now. So, what is the research screen? Well, I think it's right here. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, you can unlock certain... what are these? These are resources which will then appear on the map. Actually, let me just double check here. What kind of resources do we have that are... Okay, so it looks like we have amber. Yeah, so the ones that are grayed out are actual resources that you have not yet researched, whereas the ones that are colored with full color, yeah, these are the ones that you can gather from the get-go. These are available by default. So, and I'm very glad that they actually added this option, because previously what would happen is you would this option to see the resources before you research them, this was not available previously, but in a recent patch I think they actually made it so that you can see them, but you cannot gather them until you have researched them or unlocked them here. So what is this right here? This is... hang on. I have to open this up every time. Okay, so this is called Darkwood and this is Amber. So the Darkwood is right here. So if we click on this, you will receive about... yeah, you will get 5 pieces of Darkwood just to start with, but we're not going to unlock it right now. And the same thing with Amber over here. Yeah. Now, I would actually prefer to restart this sort of to maybe get a better roll, but so far this actually looks pretty good. We can have us like a small expedition right here. It's fairly protected. There's so we can get some fish, seaweed, and some vegetables all at once. And we have plenty of fuel, which is to say these wood over here. This one will be very useful in crafting. It's sort of used as I think you will use it to like as an extra component for your weapons, which will improve their effect overall. And the wood and the dark wood actually used for as a fuel and as a construction instrument. You can also make some weapons and items with them. So they're very versatile, very important. So before we research anything though, before we unlock any of these resources, I want to do some exploration and see what kind of resources we have nearby. Actually, the first thing I want to research would be not this component, but rather probably the construction. We want to construct a few things. We want to increase the number of citizens in our empires. I mean, in our village. We don't have an empire. It's basically just a village. So these are the buildings we have available for us to research. The smithy will, by researching smithy, your villagers will be able to craft the following recipe. Okay. Alright, so they actually made a few changes here. A proper place for crafting items and equipment increases the crafting skill and unlocks the chance to craft good quality items. Children growing up to be craftsmen receive 5 more skill points. That's actually interesting. So now we already start with a bunch of craftsmen in our village, so we don't really need this because we already have a bunch of them. Alternatively, the herbalist hut increases health regeneration and produces herbs each turn. Children growing up can choose the medic class. That's actually pretty cool. So, and the medics are useful, but I found that occasionally we get some medics recruited or indeed growing up from basic children, even without the herbalist hut. But this, I suppose this will increase your chances, maybe? I don't know. And finally we have the cabbage here, cabbage field. From time to time, far from the expected vegetable, a baby is found among the cabbages. So this will increase your population. This is the one that I actually want. I want to have as many villages as quickly as possible. But I also want to take a look at these others here. What's going on here? Grants random resources each turn, does not stack with other wells. So you just want only one of this. Whereas the cabbage field, you can actually build multiples of this one. And finally, the Watchtower allows you to see a further distance. Increases visibility around your village. Well, I'm not very interested in this. The only reason I would want to take the Watchtower is to maybe unlock whatever is there. And I'm guessing these are like sort of military-oriented stuff. Maybe some magical-oriented buildings. I don't actually remember what was there. I've never even used the Watchtower. I mostly just go for this one. So we're going to unlock the cabbage field right away. And it shows you the materials that you need in order to build this in your village. So we do have some vegetables in our village right now, and then we just need some wood, basically, yeah. And this is our expedition. How many people are here? Let me see. Okay, so we have... We're gonna go to the equipment screen because this is where you can view their details. But this guy is clearly a hunter. It's interesting to start with a hunter. That doesn't usually happen, but I kind of like this because hunters actually have some gathering skill. They're actually one of my favorite hero types. Their only problem is that they are very, very fragile. You need to give them more armor. You need to give them a lot of equipment, and thankfully they can carry a lot of weight relative to their class, I suppose. Actually, they're not much different from the gatherers, now that I think about it. They don't have that much of a weight advantage, but you know what? It's fine. Eventually they might gain some more strength than usual. It's really the fighters that can carry the most weight, and these are the guys that will have the most equipment. And it turns out we do have one piece of equipment just lying around, no one holding it. So I'm going to give it to you. Oh, but you can't carry it apparently. So we're going to give you a more lightweight weapon. Because this thing is really heavy, 220, that is huge. Well, apparently nobody can equip this thing, really. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have to train them first before we give them, before we give somebody this laminar armor. It provides 15 armor, which is a lot, but it's super heavy, so we're gonna have to wait. Now, anyway, we're gonna actually move them into the village first because I want to reorganize some of my dudes there before anything happens. Yeah. Yeah, so this is something that I usually do when I first start the game. I try to just put all of my resources in one place and then reorganize the entire army. So we're gonna send you and you. Alright, as for the craftsmen, I usually prefer to send out the craftsman with the lowest amount of crafting skill. Probably this one, although then again, this guy is very miserable. Oh my god, he has only 5 health. That is so miserable. This one is the best probably. She has 10 health and a very high crafting skill. What about this one? This one has a 4. Actually, this one is pretty good. This could be... Yeah, she has 4 crafting, which is not much, which means we don't need her in the village. But she also had 8 health, so she is slightly more durable. God, this guy is so miserable. I mean, what is he good at? I suppose he's good at he has some intelligence, maybe? Some good speech, perhaps? He might make a good diplomat. Actually, no, he's not that much better than anybody else. I'm gonna keep this guy in the city. He's such a miserable guy, but overall, yeah, I don't think we're gonna be taking him out. And finally, this one is the one we haven't seen yet. She has 7 health, 6 crafting. This one has 6 crafting and 10. Yeah, so we're probably gonna take these two. We're gonna keep the gatherers inside the village. So these are the warriors, I think, or where are the warriors? Oh, there they are. Okay. We're gonna take you with us. 6 crafting, 10 damage. He actually has a slight gathering skill, so I'm gonna take him with us, and you. We need one more. We need one more person to take with us. Now this one has concentration, which means she might have some magic skills, right? But I just realized these are 2 very lousy craftsmen, so I'm gonna take you instead, yeah. Okay, that works. 4 people in the village. Eventually, I think there's going to be some children. Yeah, we have 4 children available from the start, and these guys are going to grow up into random adults. Looking a little bit creepy there. And yeah, they will grow up to become a random skill, with a random skill. Like sometimes, if a child matures, he might become a hunter, he might become a warrior or a craftsman or a gatherer, and occasionally you get some of the more unusual classes like I think a witch or a medic, perhaps. Yeah, these are some of the more rare classes out there. And also we want to reorganize the equipment, so I'm actually gonna send everything back. I want to give these guys the best equipment we have available, so yes, I actually should keep this with them as well as that. Because the expedition guys, they're going to be doing most of the stuff, you know, like fighting enemies, doing diplomacy with random roaming monsters, and they're going to be completing the quest. So this is going to be our sort of dream team, you might say. This is the way I prefer to play it. What else? We have this hatchet here. It appears to be two-handed. You can see here it has the two-handed symbol. So I'm actually going to give this to our heroes there. This is a big training sword, which is also two-handed, but it's very cheap and very weak, so I'm actually not going to be using that. Here we have a Doctor's Medicus, deals blood damage, made of wood, very cheap item as well. We're going to take that with us. What is this? This is two-handed as well. Piercing damage with very little damage overall. It's made of iron and amber. You know what? I'm going to take it with us. We're going to take that. And what else? What else? Let's see. We have some cane here. Well, usually the cane is used for fuel. You can see here the fuel symbol, but I would much prefer to... yeah, this will leave these guys without any fuel whatsoever. Yeah, so we're gonna split this evenly until we can gather some more. Or we're gonna take the whole thing. You know what? Yeah, you guys can gather more later on. So what else do we want to give you? Oh yes, food. Very important. You need food in order to survive the expedition, so we're going to give you that much. Actually, most of the meat is going to go to the expedition. There we go. Yeah, that seems satisfactory. We're going to try and work our way with these weapons here. There's a club there. Okay. Alright, so these guys are ready now, so I guess we can check out their equipment there. Oops. Okay, there we go. There's a bit of a wonky control. Now this hunter, what am I going to give him? I want someone to be able to hold the armor and this axe over here. So which of you guys can carry the most weight? You can carry the most weight, so you're going to take this. And you're going to be our primary warrior. 24 armor, 22 damage. This is a huge amount, so she's going to be very good at survival. And she's already almost full, pretty much. I'm glad that you can actually hold all this weight. As for you... we can give you that. Range damage here? Oh. Hang on, do you have any range damage? Usually the range damage should go with the hunter. So, actually, yeah, I'm gonna give you that. You have quite a bit of damage already, so I'm gonna give you this instead. Yeah, there we go. Because the piercing is pretty good. It will, it's very useful in combat. I'm gonna show you how the piercing works. It will allow you the unit, this particular unit, to jump in before the enemy and deal damage to them at the same time. So it's very useful. Distraction, armor. I feel like I want to give this to the hunter. The hunter is basically, he's gonna be the jack of all trades type of skilled person. Yeah, we might as well give him a shield and. This is a blunt damage instrument. There's a lot of blunt damage stuff here. So it looks like he's going to be a blocker primarily. And actually, so will you. Yeah. There we go. Blunt damage and poison. Although, yeah, that'll give you more damage to deal with. Actually, I don't know. Do I want to make her more blunt damage oriented? I mean, the heavy hatchet is pretty useful. Yeah, this is fine. So eventually we're going to try and craft some armor and give it to her. We want some strong frontline troops. What else? What else do we give you guys? So you deal 11 damage blunt. It's not that great, actually. Let's give you the piercing instead. How much damage can you deal? Pretty much the same. Four damage for you. Okay, congratulations. You're gonna get the big damage axe here. Yeah, so you should probably give you a shield eventually, and it should be a very lightweight shield because clearly you can't carry. This is bad quality item there. Now, which one of you guys had the highest crafting ability? I think he did. I mean, gathering. Yeah, he had the highest gathering. Who else? Does anybody else have any gathering skill whatsoever? You have one gathering. You have one gathering as well. Oh. And that's it. So I guess if we want to concentrate our gathering skills, we're going to give it to you, perhaps. Yeah. So that way you two can gather from the same resource, and he will gather all by himself. That works. Now we want to increase our damage. You have blunt damage, so I think it might work if we give you that. You also have some blunt damage, so we might as well. Oh, he cannot carry anymore. Can you take this one? Okay, you can. Good. There we go. Alright, I think we are all set. Eventually we're going to gain even more equipment, but this should take us quite far. We have food, we have the fuel there. What else? What else do we want to take with us? I don't think we want to take anything else. We're going to leave the children there. Actually, I want to take this with me because... yeah, I don't like her to have the axe. I would rather give her some means of defending herself. And here you can see this big training sword. It actually has some shielding, and the shielding is good for, you know, self-defense. As you can see, these craftsmen, they usually have very low health points, so we want to give them as much armor as we can so they can survive tough encounters. Okay, so everybody is armored up, and things are looking okay. So we're going to return this. And now in the Stoya, we're going to give this to you. Yeah, you're all fairly well armored there. What else? Now this is the quest line. And is there any way for us to know exactly? Alright, so check my village and people first and send them more away. Let's begin. Okay, so we want to send these guys towards Theodore over here. The spider's nest.
Theodore welcomes you. Well, hello there. I see you're finding your feet and making first steps into the world. Well done. Events, such as meeting me, will occur throughout your adventures. Sometimes they are random, sometimes predestined, and always varied. Events can occur when you're out exploring.
Right, events can occur at any time, both within the village and out in the world.
Many events will ask you to bring stuff or do things in order to move to the next stage. I asked you before to gather food and fuel in your village. So you can gather resources in your village, but also by setting up a camp when you're... Good.
Oh.
Now events can lead to conversations or just random disasters, but they can also lead to challenges. To show you what I mean, track down a pack of boars nearby, marked by a blue question mark.
Okay, so we're gonna go out and hunt these boars here. It looks like, and you can see here the challenge will occur in multiple ways. Can we move there? Yes, we can move directly towards them. And actually, before we start hunting the boars, one thing I would like to do is to start gathering. Yeah, we have the vegetables here. You're gonna work on the vegetables, and you are gonna work on the wood. All right, so you can take each one of each in 2 turns, which works perfectly. We could definitely use another gatherer here, maybe to gather extra food, but right now we also want to manage supplies, because this one is actually very valuable, although we do have a very large supply of it nearby. You know what, I'm gonna go work with that instead. And once we have some vegetables, I'm actually gonna save up some meat, because meat is not in endless supply, as you can see, whereas the vegetables are in endless supply, because we have one right on top of our village. Right beneath our village, yeah. Hang on. So one thing we need to understand here is that the stuff you can gather is only the stuff that is within these tiles of the village. I'm not aware of any possible way for us to expand this radius. Like, there has to be, it makes sense to me that there has to be a way for us to expand this radius to improve the variety of things that we can gather from this village. But right now, by default, this is all we can do. We can just gather wood and vegetables, and that's it. So it's kind of disappointing. I was hoping for something more. And it turns out that there's no way for us to unlock anything else around the village by research, because yes, we can already see that the only thing around our village that we can research is the darkwood and the amber. There is nothing within our immediate border. So research is not going to help us either to improve food variety. And maybe this was intentional by design, but I'm really hoping that they will add something to improve the the radius around the village. Maybe it's one of the buildings that we need to research. Maybe it has to do with the Watchtower. I have no idea. Maybe I should consult the wiki first before moving into this playthrough. But for now, that'll work. Actually, we can try and construct something. We have crafting, construction there. Let's go with construction. So what does this do? Hang on. What does the pasture do? It doesn't tell us exactly. I don't know exactly what the pasture does. You know what? Maybe I should check the research screen. It has to be there somewhere. Rearing your animals means your people will not need to hunt so often. It grants meat each turn. I think what it does is, I believe I remember from previously, it gives you some meat every turn, by default, without any kind of gatherer. And it will also give a chance to attract someone to your village. So overall, we're going to build one pasture, and we're going to build like 2 cabbage fields just to increase our population. But first things first, we're going to try to confront these boars here.